The baby wouldn't stop crying. So the mother decided to check the nappy, and what she saw left her utterly shaken. For several days, this young British mum had tried everything to soothe her daughter. She rocked her, sang lullabies, walked her around the house, but nothing seemed to help. Completely worn out and unsure of what else to do, she finally decided to take a look at the nappy, expecting to find something minor, perhaps a damp patch or a slight leak. But the moment she opened it, her stomach turned. It was nothing like she expected. What she saw was far from normal. It felt like a punch to the chest. That simple act, done out of pure motherly instinct, turned into a moment of sheer panic. Her heart raced, her breathing became heavy, and for a few seconds, she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. That image burned itself into her memory. It didn't just ruin her day, it shifted her entire perspective. From that point on, she knew something far more serious was going on with her baby. And life, as she knew it, would never be the same again. Emily Johnson was just about to load another batch of laundry into the washing machine when a sharp, piercing cry echoed through the house. It was the kind of sound that made your chest tighten in an instant. Without a second thought, she dropped the laundry basket. It was Grace, her 5-month-old baby girl, who had only just drifted off moments earlier. But this cry, it wasn't normal. Over the past few days, Grace had been crying endlessly, at all hours, day and night. Emily, utterly worn out, had tried to convince herself it was just a phase, maybe colic or some mild discomfort. But deep down, something didn't sit right. This wasn't just fussiness or a baby's usual cry. It felt as though her little one was trying to say something, as if her body was calling out for help. And if you think you've heard it all, wait until you find out what Emily discovered next. Before we carry on, make sure you subscribe to the channel, especially if you're into true stories that really make you stop and think. This is one of those that stays with you. Emily, who worked as a nurse for the NHS, had felt something wasn't quite right for a few days. Grace, her 5-month-old baby, had been crying more persistently for nearly 3 days now, and that particular night had been especially difficult. The little one screamed so intensely that neither Emily nor her husband, David, managed to get any rest. When morning came, the situation remained the same. The crying was near constant, interrupted only by brief feeds or fleeting naps. Desperate and exhausted, they took her to their local GP. After a thorough checkup, the doctor found no clear cause for concern. He explained that it was most likely the early stages of teething, something common, though uncomfortable, for babies. He prescribed a mild painkiller and suggested a few massage techniques to ease the discomfort. He ended the consultation with reassuring words, "It's perfectly normal. It'll pass soon." With a glimmer of hope, the couple returned home. They followed the instructions carefully, gave the medication as directed, used the massage techniques gently, and tried to create a peaceful atmosphere. But as the days passed, nothing improved. In fact, things got worse. Grace's cries grew sharper, more relentless. The doctor's certainty, once a source of comfort, began to feel hollow, like a curtain slowly being drawn back to reveal something far more serious. Doubt took root, and with it, fear. Emily and David couldn't help but remember how Grace had come into the world, 5 weeks earlier than expected. Her arrival had been sudden, and though joyful, it came with an underlying worry: her underdeveloped immune system. Their pediatrician had warned them right from the start. Those first 6 months would require heightened care, strict hygiene, and constant vigilance. Even a mild cold could spiral into something serious. Now, with Grace crying endlessly day after day, Emily's inner alarms refused to switch off. It wasn't just worry anymore, it was maternal instinct, loud and clear. Something was off. On Monday morning, while getting Grace ready for yet another visit to the surgery, She decided to give her a warm bath, hoping it might soothe her. She then reached for a fresh nappy, but paused. There was a strange brownish mark on the fabric. She frowned. It looked odd. And curiously, it wasn't even from the usual brand they used. Leaning in for a closer look, she ran her fingers over it and felt a different texture. More small marks appeared under the light. A chill ran down her spine. She immediately called David over. Together, they examined the nappy in growing silence, their unease turning into dread. And then, in that tense and quiet moment, they discovered something utterly disturbing. Something that would completely change how they saw the last few days. Inside the nappy, embedded in the soft fabric, were tiny fragments of rusted metal, thin, sharp, and clearly dangerous. At first, Emily thought it might be an isolated incident. But when she opened the rest of the pack, her heart sank. Several more nappies had the exact same issue. Devastated, she broke down in tears. Her daughter, already vulnerable and with delicate health, had been exposed to materials that could potentially cause serious infections. Suddenly, everything started to make sense. Grace's discomfort had begun on the very day they started using that particular batch of nappies. Without wasting a moment, they got into the car and rushed to the hospital. Anxiety took over. The doctor explained that if Grace had suffered any internal cuts or infections due to the fragments, it could lead to septicemia, a life-threatening condition, especially for a baby like her. Emily could barely breathe as they waited for the test results. Fortunately, the results brought a wave of relief. There were no fragments inside Grace's body, and the only visible injuries were minor abrasions on her skin. Despite the scare, there was no immediate danger. Still, the medical team stressed the importance of monitoring her closely in the coming days to catch any possible long-term effects. Rather than jumping into a lawsuit, Emily and David chose to report the incident directly to the nappy manufacturer. They felt deeply betrayed by a brand they had trusted. What they wanted was transparency, accountability, and a swift investigation to find out how metal shards had ended up in baby nappies. The company responded with a formal public apology and stated they would look into the issue. However, the reaction felt lukewarm. They only requested the batch number and offered no concrete explanation or follow-up. The couple felt let down. A case this serious deserved a much more sensitive and human response. That's when they turned to social media. They shared their story, not to attack or shame the company, but to warn other parents. And they weren't alone. In the comments, they discovered similar accounts, including from 2 other British couples who had also found metal fragments in nappies from the same brand. The public pressure started to build. The company came under scrutiny. But, like so many other serious cases, time passed and the story faded from the headlines. No one really knows if there was a settlement or legal action taken. What we do know is that Emily and David chose to move on. They didn't want to be stuck in endless legal battles. Their priority had always been Grace's well-being. And thanks to a single moment of observation, noticing a strange brownish mark on a nappy, they managed to prevent something far worse. And now we ask you, what would you have done in their place? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you in any way, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We've got more real stories to share, some just as shocking as this one.